All right, we're here today to talk about navigating the Schoology group. And first of all, the group is called SPPS OSS Special Education Resources. It's right here. The icon looks like this. Some of you are visual. You pay attention to the icon. Anyway, that's where you go. It is a group, not a course. It is a group, not a course. Okay, we will be sharing the access code with you as well so that you can access what you need. But when you go in there and you get to resources, you will see that things have been cleaned up. What we want you to understand is throughout distance learning, throughout the creation of lots of things since we moved or navigated things more towards the Schoology side of life, things have gotten like, where do I go for this? Which group was this again? We want to streamline things and make things as simple as possible so that you know here is your one place that you need to go for everything you need. You can see that there are folders for compliance, instructional resources, assistive tech, things specifically for their ASD and DCD populations, and things like that. Today, what I want to focus on is more of the instructional special education resources, and specifically how they're connected to literacy, since that's our focus for today. You can see that was one click. Now we're on click 2, where it takes you to either elementary or secondary. Okay, so we can start in elementary. If you're an elementary school teacher, this is where you're going to go. You can see that we've got that planning grid where it breaks down if they have this fast reading score and they're in this grade level, this is the kind of intervention they need, whether it's a tier 1 general education in classroom intervention or a low or a mid-range intervention or an intensive intervention, which would probably be time outside of class. So that's that planning grid. They also have that for math scores. But we also have our literacy matrix. And here, if you click on that, you can see this should look very familiar. It should look very familiar because we've talked about it already today. But remember that if you pay attention to this, you should be able to meet all of the needs of your students. If they are demonstrating a need in syllable segmenting, here's some resources. All right, here's your instruction, here's the independent work, and here's how you can progress monitor. We have this in elementary, we also have that in secondary. This continues to be a good and essential starting point for all of our literacy work. Okay, on the literacy matrix, there are some things referenced. If they have phonics needs. If they have phonics needs, we go into the Sunday folder. And in the Sunday folder, you'll find lessons and resources, shareables, progress monitoring tools, all right? But here's the difference. We know that Sunday is not super strong with phonemic awareness skills. So one of the things that the district has purchased this year is Heggerty. And Heggerty is where you would go if your students have significant phonemic awareness skill needs. All right? Phonics is Sunday. Phonemic awareness is Heggerty. So we have that. So that's at the elementary level. All right? If we go back and say we're a high school or a middle school teacher, we can go in here. Again, we still have that specialized instruction planning grid because it's applicable to everybody. We have our secondary literacy matrix. Again, we're taking that matrix and it's your starting point for literacy intervention and literacy instruction, and it's more aligned to secondary. All right, so we have that. If you teach at the middle school level and you're teaching a pull-out class, called Reading Strategies or Middle School Literacy Pilot. Those of you that have done that know what that means. This is, again, where you'll find all your information. So we've migrated everything from Google to Schoology. So you used to have to go into the Google Drive to find what you need. Now you can go into Schoology and you can go into middle school literacy resources. If you're at the high school level and you're teaching Reading Standards 5, that's all your Fusion 1, Reading Standards 6, and potentially Reading Standards 7. Again, if your students have significant phonics needs at the secondary level, and unfortunately we have some of those students, you can find your resources for Sunday, because that is the intervention you would use. You would use Sunday to address your phonics intervention needs. You would have that here. And we also understand that some of our secondary students, unfortunately, may still have some phonemic awareness needs. And so we have the Hegarty materials here as well. So again, you've got some of the same materials available, because we're not saying that they're purely elementary or purely secondary. It's based on where our student needs are and meeting them where they're at. You can also see that we'll have a folder for our SCCR classes, where we'll probably have some of the AVID resources and skills for high school readiness, kind of the AVID resources that we've used in the past. And then we have also the Math Scope and Sequence resources. Here's what I love. I'm just going to touch on this because it's really, I think, highly effective. We've done a lot for literacy, but this is the start of what we can do for math. And I would encourage you to check this out, because there is something pretty cool, I think, on this. So you've got your resources and your curriculum guide. It's for elementary, and if you scroll down, you can also get to secondary. But what I really like is here we have, if you are a special ed teacher who is responsible for teaching the math, say you're in a program level, EBD program level kind of situation, here you've got your own version that's aligned with what they're doing, but also provides some added supports. So it's another thing. Notice that they have beginning of the year assessments, so you can get a good baseline. I thought that was a really nice thing. They also, if you continue to scroll down, it also goes into secondary. So it doesn't matter if you're teaching 6th grade, 7th grade, 9th grade, geometry, algebra 2, it doesn't matter. It's all there for you. So that is a quick overview, but I did want to go back here. We also have some data tracking forms that we'll be able to access, so that when you're doing your progress monitoring, when you are examining your data and looking to see how effective your interventions have been, you can click here for some data forms. All right. But we're going to go back here because we have, again, condensed all of the compliance things here as well. So this really is your one-stop shop for everything that you will need. You'll be able to answer all your questions here. All right. So be aware, we will have the access code posted on the Schoology course for this Schoology group. All right, and you'll be able to access that. Please be sure, if you haven't already joined, that you do join so that you can access this. This should be your first stop to try and answer your questions and find your resources. All right?